Have you ever felt like you don't fit in? I'm not talking about a common passing discomfort. I mean that deep, persistent sensation, as if you had awakened in a world that isn't yours, as if you were born among bodies that move, breathe, speak, but are empty. Have you never noticed that vacant look in people's eyes? They walk down the street, laugh, eat, consume, but something is missing, something essential, a spark, a flame, a soul. We live in a society obsessed with the exterior, with appearance, with having. But tell me, what happens when you close your eyes? What remains when you turn off the noise, the lights, the screens, the voices? What do you hear within yourself? Because what you're about to hear today isn't meant for everyone. This message isn't for the majority. It isn't for those who sleep, nor for those who only follow orders, repeat phrases, and believe they're awake because their bodies move. This message is for you, if you still carry the echo of the sacred in your chest. There's something you must know, and once you know it, you can never go back. For centuries, some sages dared to whisper it. Hermes Trismegistus murmured it in ancient Egypt. The Gnostics etched it into codices that power tried to destroy. The Kabbalists hid it in symbols and numerology. Blavatsky wrote it at the risk of being silenced. Paracelsus shouted it in the heart of medieval darkness. And all of them, from different points in time, agreed on a single truth. Not all humans have a waking soul. Yes, you heard that right. Not everyone feels. Not everyone thinks from the depths. Not everyone is alive inside. There are human bodies that are nothing but that. Bodies. Sophisticated automatons, sparkless entities, imitators of life, actors in a play they don't understand. They are the hillocks. Those who know only the material world. They eat, work, consume, procreate, obey. They are cogs in an invisible machine. They don't question. They don't feel beyond the basics. They don't know they're asleep. And worse, they don't want to wake up. Then there are the psychics. Half awake, half blind. They sense that something doesn't fit, but they're afraid. They doubt themselves. They feel the call, but they don't follow it. They suffer in silence. They stand at the threshold. They peer through the fog, but they haven't crossed yet. And then there are the others, the ones who don't fit. Those who feel a nostalgia they can't explain. As if they remembered something they never lived. As if a part of them knew that this is not all, the pneumatic. Those with a living soul. Bearers of the fire. They are few, very few. And that's why they're alone. Because living with a waking soul in a sleeping world is a sentence. But it's also a privilege. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe that constant discomfort, that inner rebellion, that feeling that all of this is an absurd theater, is the sign. Maybe what others call an existential crisis, you already know is a birth. But awakening hurts. Awakening is losing everything. Certainties, securities, masks. Awakening is dying in life to be reborn without permission. It's questioning everything. History, religion, science, education, love, family, work, everything. Are you ready? Because once you see, you cannot unsee. They educated you to believe that we are all the same, that we all feel the same, that we all think the same, that we all love the same. But that's false. A lie repeated 1,000 times does not become truth. And you knew it since you were a child. You felt it at school, when others followed senseless rules and you asked, why? You felt it at home when they told you that's how things are, and you thought, no, they don't have to be. You felt it when you looked into adults' eyes and saw no depth, only repetition, survival, resignation. And you feel it today, on the subway, in meetings, on social networks, in the news, a world full of noise but empty of soul. Why do you think there is more anxiety, more depression, more suicides, more addictions, more disconnection than ever? Do you think it's a coincidence, number? It's a symptom, a signal, a cry from souls trapped in a soulless world. The system doesn't want you to wake up, because if you wake up, you no longer consume the same. You no longer obey the same. You no longer fear the same, and above all, you no longer fit in. That's why awakening is dangerous, not only for you, for the entire order, because a living soul is contagious. It's a fire that can ignite the illusion. And there are forces that don't want that to happen. Forces you don't see, but that are there. Programming reality, fabricating your desires, defining your fears, feeding on your disconnection. Do you think I'm exaggerating? Look around you. How many people truly live from their soul? How many dare to look within, to feel the pain, to seek the truth? Most flee. They anesthetize themselves. They take refuge in distractions, in food, in sex, in social media, in news, in dogmas, in work. But you remain here, listening, because something inside you has begun to burn. And that fire is your essence, your connection with what is real, with what never dies, with what existed before you were born and will remain when your body no longer exists. The ancients knew it. They called it the divine spark, pneuma, atman, spirit, and they said not everyone possesses it. Some are only empty vessels, shells, beautiful on the outside, inert within, and you feel it when you surround yourself with them. You feel that something doesn't flow, that there's no soul, only simulation. That's why you feel strange, alone, tired, unsettled, because you're living among shadows who believe they are light. And yet, you cannot extinguish your flame, nor should you, because that fire, that discomfort, that nostalgia is your guide. It's the compass pointing toward the sacred, toward your purpose, toward the remembrance of who you are. You are not broken, you are awakening, and awakening is the most courageous act that exists. Because it means looking the world in the eye and saying, this is not all. I am not this. There is more, and I will seek it. Even if they call you crazy, even if you end up alone, even if it hurts, because the soul did not come here to obey. It came to remember, to embody, to burn. That's why the path does not lie outward. It's not in titles, diplomas, labels, awards, applause. It lies within, in silence, in the fall, in the wound, in renunciation, in the clear gaze, in the fertile void, where the mind falls silent and the soul speaks. And when you hear that voice, there is no turning back, because to discover that there are soulless shells is painful. But to discover that you do have one is revolutionary, and you are not alone. Others have felt the call too. Others have wept from incomprehension. Others have awakened amidst the darkness. And together, though scattered, meet. We form an invisible network, a spiritual resistance, a flame that never dies out, a consciousness that cannot be sold, a truth that will not be forgotten. So continue, even if it hurts, even if your soul trembles, even if you lose everything, because what you will gain has no name. It is freedom, it is presence, it is eternity. You were born with a waking soul in a sleeping world, and that is not a curse. It is a privilege. Now you know it. And what you do with this truth is up to you. But remember this: living from the soul is the greatest act of rebellion, and you have come to rebel. And yet, this is only the beginning, because when the soul awakens, the first thing it does is look back. And it asks itself, where was I all this time? Who occupied my place while I slept? The answer is uncomfortable. A character, a mask, an identity built by others. Your parents, your teachers, your beliefs, your culture, your wounds. Everything you thought you were was programming, an imposed script, a borrowed story. And that character has no soul. It only repeats, it only acts, it only survives. That's why awakening isn't just about seeing external reality. It's about shedding your inner imposter. It's about tearing off the mask with your own hands and staring into the abyss of not knowing who you are, to finally begin to remember it. And here is where many fail, because they prefer to fall back asleep. They want to return to their comfort zone, even if it's filled with pain. They prefer a comfortable lie to a devastating truth, because truth demands transformation. But if you've reached this point, it's because you don't want comfort. You want truth, even if it hurts, even if it breaks you, even if it leaves you naked before the mirror. Because only from that nakedness can the soul be born. And then something mysterious happens. You begin to see the world with different eyes. What once seemed normal now disturbs you. You see how people live on autopilot, how they repeat ideas they don't understand, how they celebrate their own slavery with empty smiles. You begin to feel places, vibrations, absences. You notice when you're surrounded by life and when you're merely among bodies. You can be in a crowded room and feel completely alone, or you can sit in silence with a waking soul and feel you've come home. The solitude of the soul is not isolation. It is sensitivity. It is lucidity. It is truth. And that truth hurts, because the world you knew begins to crumble. Official history, the education you received, the institutions you revered, the idols you admired, no longer withstand the soul's gaze. They collapse, they burn. And you cannot help it, because your inner fire allows no half measures, and you begin to see the grand theater. The entire system is designed to keep you asleep. Television, the news, politics, the entertainment industry, even trendy spirituality. Everything is made to distract you, to give you quick answers, techniques without soul, solutions without depth, 10-minute guided meditation so you don't feel your existential void, motivational quotes that hide your ancestral fear, superficial coaching to fit better into a rotten system. Everything is designed to cover the symptom and prevent you from seeking the root. But you can't fool yourself anymore. You know this goes deeper, that it's not just about being happy. It's about remembering who you are and why you're here. And that's where another level of awakening begins, remembering your mission. Because the soul doesn't come into this world by accident. Each living soul has a purpose, a unique vibration, a message it must embody, a wound it must heal, a shadow it must illuminate. But you can't fulfill your mission if you keep living as a character. You have to kill it. Yes, kill it. Destroy the version of yourself fashioned by fear, by culture, by trauma, by lineage. Only then does the true you emerge, the one that has been waiting, silent, deep, intact. And when that you awakens, the world trembles, because they can no longer manipulate you. They can no longer control you. You no longer need to belong to a group, be approved, or fit in. You have remembered your origin. And it doesn't come from here. The soul does not belong to this world, and that's why living here hurts so much. Because this world, as it's designed, is a trap, a prison disguised as freedom, a simulacrum, a matrix not of cables or screens, but of ideas, beliefs, habits, roles. Did you know there are people who no longer have any chance of waking? Yes, the irreversible. Those who have lost connection completely, who have been absorbed entirely by programming. There is no spark left, no fire remains, only a biological mechanism, empty. And that doesn't make them evil, just eternally asleep. And you must accept it. You cannot save everyone. You cannot wake someone who doesn't want to wake. The soul only blossoms when it's ready, and many have chosen not to blossom. That's why the solitude of the path is part of the price, because awakening is a journey toward freedom, but also toward the desert. You will have to let go of bonds, break ties, leave behind places, names, systems, even loves that no longer resonate with you. The soul makes no concessions. It negotiates with no lie. It only seeks truth. And truth is fire. That's why spiritual awakening isn't a sweet, loving experience, as many would have you believe. It's not a gentle light. It's a storm. It's an inferno. It's an interior cataclysm. The dark night of the soul isn't a metaphor. It's real. And when it comes, you feel like you die. But you don't die. Your character does. And when it finally falls, what was always beneath emerges. The naked soul, radiant, free, unbreakable. And that soul is a beacon. It needs no persuasion. It needs no shouting. It simply vibrates. It simply exists. And its very presence unsettles the asleep and inspires those on the brink of awakening. That is your place. You did not come to fit in. You came to ignite. And that's why everything hurts. That's why everything burns. Because you came to blaze in the midst of darkness, to remind others of what they have forgotten, to return soul to the world. And perhaps they will ask you, who are you to say all this? And you, with the calm of one who has already crossed the fire, will answer, I am no one, just a soul that no longer sleeps. And yet, there is more. Something I haven't told you. Something you may have been waiting for without knowing it. Because when the soul awakens, it not only remembers what it is, it begins to sense what it can become. That fire you feel within is not the end. It's the beginning of a metamorphosis. Because the awakened soul transforms. It changes shape. It changes frequency. It changes reality. You did not come here merely to wake. You came to transform, to become a bridge between worlds, to anchor the invisible in the visible, to manifest the sacred amid the noise. And that only someone who has traversed the night, who has shattered into 1,000 pieces and chosen to rebuild without lies, can do. That is you. You are not a coincidence. You are divine design. And everything you've endured, every fall, every tear, every void, every betrayal, every rupture, was part of the code. It was all preparation. It was all training. Because what comes now demands a new version of you. Not the version that fights to fit in, but the version that embodies its soul without asking permission. The version that no longer negotiates with its truth. The version that no longer needs external proof to know what it is. The version that walks with fire in its gaze and with the peace of one who has already seen the essential. And here is the truth few dare to speak. This world is designed to break you. Until you remember you cannot be broken. That is the final secret. Your soul cannot be destroyed, only forgotten. And now that you have remembered, what will you do with this truth? Because knowing it is not enough. You must live it. From now on, every decision will be a testament to your fire. Every silence, a declaration of war against lies. Every daily act, a sacred ritual. And yes, you will feel alone many times, but you will never be truly alone, because there are others like you, awakening, igniting their flame, holding their soul as a beacon in the mist. And even if we don't know each other, we are connected, silent, deep, free. And if you've come this far, it's because you are. You are one of those who came to remember, to tear down the veil, to pierce the illusion, to embody the eternal in a temporal body. And that is why I say to you, continue. Don't stop. Don't justify yourself. Don't extinguish. Because if you don't embody your soul, no one else will. Now, I invite you to do something simple, yet powerful. Leave in the comments this phrase if you have felt this call resonate in your core. My soul does not sleep, and I refuse to close my eyes. That will be our sign, our invisible password, to recognize each other amid the noise, to know we are not alone on this sacred path. And if you feel this has touched something deep within you, subscribe. This channel isn't for everyone. It's a refuge for those who burn, for those who feel, for those who refuse to conform. And if you are one of them, welcome. You have found your tribe. Because here, we do not pander to the algorithm. We come to ignite souls. And remember this before you go. You are not here by mistake. You are the crack in the matrix, the divine anomaly that came to rewrite the script, the ancient soul that never fully forgot, the fire that burns in silence until it consumes everything. See you in the next video, or maybe not. Perhaps we'll meet in a shared dream, or in that crossing of glances where two awakened souls recognize each other without words. Because this is no longer a video. It is an act of remembrance. And you, by hearing it, have activated something that can never be extinguished. Until then, burn. And never apologize for illuminating what others prefer not to see.